Have you ever heard of someone who died, stood before Jesus, and returned with a warning so urgent, so haunting, that it could shake the soul of an entire nation? My name is Clarice Medina. I'm just an ordinary woman from Quezon City, a mother, a wife, a nurse who has spent her whole life trying to help people heal. But nothing prepared me for the moment I died and was shown what's about to come upon the earth. I didn't ask for this. I didn't go looking for visions or try to play the prophet. I was just trying to survive a late shift when a sudden heart attack took me right there on the hospital floor. They said my heart stopped for 7 minutes. But where I went, what I saw, and who I met, those 7 minutes changed everything. If you are watching this, please don't take it lightly. Don't treat it like another story on your feed. Because the day I died, I was shown something terrifying. A date, a single day carved in fire hovering over the nations, like a warning. June 20, 2025. Atamanait. A day the heavens have already marked. A day when humanity will either rise in prayer or fall into judgment. I saw two paths for the world, one of revival, one of ruin. And I was told I had to return to tell what I saw so that those who still have time can choose. So if you're listening now, please stay with me until the very end. Because what I'm about to share with you goes beyond dreams, beyond theology, beyond politics. This is about eternity. And it started not in the church, not in some holy vision, but in the fluorescent lit chaos of an ER in Quezon City. I remember collapsing the cold tile floor, the alarms, the panic, and then nothing, no pain, no fear, just silence. A silence so deep it felt like the universe itself had stopped breathing. And then the light came. It wasn't like sunlight. It was alive. It was warm and it pulled me gently but irresistibly out of my body and into something greater. I could feel without touching, I could hear without sound. And I wasn't alone. There were presences, beings of light surrounding me, but one was unlike the others. He didn't speak at first, but I knew it was him.
Do not be afraid, Clarice. I have something to show you. A message not just for you, but for your people. You must see what is coming, and you must return to speak.
The moment he spoke, every part of me trembled, not in fear, but in awe. It was like every cell in my soul recognized the voice of its creator. He took my hand and suddenly everything around us shifted. We were no longer in light, but in vision, a place between time and space, where the future unfolded like burning scrolls, and there hovering in flame was a date, June 20, 2025. I gasped, because somehow I knew what would be revealed next was not just for me, but for you, for the Philippines, for the world. I opened my eyes, but I was no longer in the hospital. I was somewhere else. It felt like floating, but also like standing on something more real than the earth. There was no ground, no sky, just an endless ocean of light. It pulsed like a heartbeat, alive, gentle, and holy. And then I saw him. He was not a figure from a painting, nor a story from the Bible. He was real, radiant, impossible to describe. The light didn't just surround him, it came from him. His eyes were not like human eyes. They held eternity. And when they looked at me, I felt everything inside me. Every failure, every fear, every sin rise to the surface and disappear, as if they had no power in his gaze. I fell to my knees, but not from fear. It was love, heavy, strong, unrelenting, and pure.
Clarice, do not be afraid. You are here because I love you, and because the time is near.
I trembled, not because of his voice, but because of what I felt behind it. Urgency, sadness, hope. He reached out his hand and lifted me up without touching me. It was as if gravity had no meaning in the presence of the one who made it. All around us the light shifted and suddenly it became a gallery, not of paintings but of time itself. Scenes floated around us, as if the sky had been cut open and history poured out. I saw nations rise and fall. I saw families praying, some fighting, some breaking. And then I saw my country, the Philippines. But not how we see it on maps. No, I saw it from heaven's view. Every city, every island was glowing, but not all glowed the same. Some burned bright as if covered in fire from heaven. Others flickered struggling and some were almost gone, cold, gray, and forgotten.
Your land is loved, but it is sleeping. So many hearts have become distracted. They chase blessing, not the blesser. They want comfort, but not the cross.
His words were soft, but they crushed me, because they were true. He pointed again, this time at churches. I saw large gatherings with music, with lights, but no light in the spirit. People singing, but not praying. Leaders preaching, but not living. And I also saw tiny rooms, quiet houses, where a single grandmother, a child, a mother with tears prayed alone. And around them, the angels gathered.
I do not measure by size. I search for the heart. I dwell where I am desired, and my presence comes where there is humility.
I couldn't stop the tears. He turned to me again and held out his hand.
Clarice, there is something you must see. A moment is coming, a turning point, and you must carry this message back.
The light around us pulsed, and then I saw it. A floating number burning, blazing alive. June 20, 2020. At 10:20, the moment I saw it, my whole body shook. My soul recognized it even before I understood it. It wasn't just a date. Wasn't that date. It was a door. A spiritual threshold that would divide time before and after.
This is the day when many will choose and many will fall. What happens on this day will depend on the prayers before it.
I stared frozen as the light around the number began to tremble, as if something dark was trying to cover it. Jesus looked into my eyes.
You will see what comes next, and then you will tell them. The world must know what is at stake.
And with that, the warmth around me began to shift, darken, not with evil, but with warning. And I knew what I would see next would break my heart, but it was the only way to save the hearts of others. The light that surrounded us began to dim. Not fade, not disappear, but shift. It grew heavy, dense, like a storm was about to break. Jesus was still holding my hand, but I could feel it, something was about to change. Suddenly, a tear opened in the sky, and we stepped through. What I saw froze my spirit. We were no longer in that peaceful light. We were hovering above the earth, but it wasn't the earth I remembered. The land looked the same, but the atmosphere was thick, gray, and suffocating. There was no sun, only a dim, eerie glow like twilight that never ends. I saw cities, famous ones, New York, Manila, Tokyo, London, all covered in shadow. And over them hung clouds, but not of water. These clouds were alive, twisting, writhing, moving like serpents made of darkness.
This is what comes when prayer is forgotten, when men choose silence over surrender.
The scene shifted. Now I saw homes. Families were trapped inside. Some scrolling endlessly on phones, others arguing, some just staring blankly at their walls. Their eyes, they were empty. No light, no hope, just numbness.
The enemy's greatest weapon is not violence. It is distraction, a silent thief that steals the soul.
My heart ached. I wanted to shout, to warn them, but I couldn't. I was only a witness. We moved again, this time to churches. Thousands of them, doors locked, lights off, pulpits covered in dust. And I saw pastors weeping, some confused, some completely unaware of the spiritual collapse happening around them.
They thought they had time, but the time came, and they were not ready.
I wept. I couldn't stop. The scenes became worse. I saw streets flooded with chaos. People running, screaming, looking for help, but there was no one to help them. Floods swept through coastal cities. Buildings collapsed. Fire raged in forests. The skies above crackled with unnatural lightning, not from nature, but from something darker, something unseen.
Nature groans when man forgets his creator. What you see is the earth reflecting the spirit of the people.
Then I saw something even more terrifying. Shadowy beings, not human. They hovered above cities, some even walking among the people, but unseen. They whispered into ears fed on fear and stirred anger. Some stood in parliaments, others in schools. Some even sat quietly in churches grinning.
These are not myths. They are real. Spirits of division, of confusion, of cold religion.
He pointed to a clock high above the sky. It had no hands, just a glowing red line. Each time it blinked, a sound echoed in my chest like a heart skipping a beat.
Every second lost is a soul lost. Every moment ignored is judgment delayed but not removed.
I turned and saw a little girl crying in the middle of a street. She clutched a Bible, but it was torn, wet, burned. No one, eh? No one helped her. They passed her by as if she were invisible. But then one figure knelt beside her. It was a woman, old, weak, but glowing with light. She prayed silently. Tears ran down her face, but her words were strong. Around her, a dome of invisible light formed, protecting them both.
One intercessor can stop the darkness in an entire city. But where are the others?
The sorrow in his voice was unbearable.
They said June 20th was just another date, a warning made up by fanatics. But now, they know.
He turned to me, and for the first time, his face showed a trace of holy anger.
My mercy is endless, but my justice is real. I knock, but I will not force the door.
I fell to my knees again. Lord, how can this be stopped? I cried. He looked at me.
You will tell them, you will show them what is coming, and through your voice, they will hear my heart.
Suddenly the vision shifted and the shadows began to retreat. Not completely, but enough to let a single beam of light break through.
Now come, let me show you the root of this darkness.
And with that he turned toward a new vision. And I followed him, heart trembling, spirit burning, knowing the worst was still to come. We stood now on the edge of what looked like a broken sanctuary. Not a church, but something older, sacred, abandoned. The walls were cracked and overgrown with vines. Yet in the center was a large stone altar covered in dust. Jesus walked toward it slowly, his eyes fixed, his footsteps silent, but every step echoed in my spirit like thunder rolling over a silent battlefield.
This is what happens when prayer dies. This was once an altar of fire. Now it is cold.
He touched the stone, and instantly vision surrounded us. Scenes unfolded all around like living paintings. Billions of people going about their lives without a single moment of prayer. Parents scrolling endlessly while their children cried in the background. Pastors preparing sermons without first kneeling. Students mocking the idea of faith. Celebrities preaching self-love instead of truth. And the worst, Christians busy, entertained, comfortable but spiritually asleep.
The greatest sin of this generation is not hatred, not violence, not immorality. It is indifference, a heart that no longer trembles before God.
Tears welled in my eyes. I felt every word hit me like a storm. He turned to me.
I gave them time. I gave them signs. I even gave them pain so they would return. But they chose silence over surrender.
The vision shifted. Now we were in a massive archive, endless shelves of prayers. Some were glowing like fire. Others faded. Many dusty, untouched for years. He pulled out a scroll. It was thin, fragile, and empty.
This belonged to a man who once prayed with fire. But when life got easy, he stopped.
He let it go. The scroll vanished into ash.
He still calls himself mine, but he hasn't spoken to me in 10 years.
I wanted to collapse. I felt ashamed for all the times I had rushed through my own prayers or replaced silence with noise, worship with music, but no heart.
Do you see the world suffers not because I am silent, but because my people are?
Suddenly I was taken to a university. Inside, a group of students laughed, mocked, played games. A small Bible sat in the corner untouched.
They know my name, but they do not know my voice.
The scene dissolved. We were now in a giant stadium. Tens of thousands cheering for a concert. Lights, smoke, energy. But none of them noticed the massive angel hovering above, weeping.
They hunger for spectacle, but not for me.
We flew above churches. Some were full, but the altars were empty. People were there but not present. Their lips moved, but their hearts were far away.
They call it worship, but it is routine, emotion, performance. Where is the trembling? Where is the longing?
The next image broke me. A little boy alone in his room, kneeling beside a bed, crying, but no one taught him how to pray.
His parents are too busy. His pastor is too distracted. So I came to him myself.
He smiled with tears as Jesus spoke that. Then the image changed. A church, small, simple, but the altar burned with real fire. People were on their knees, faces to the floor. No music, no lights, just tears and truth.
This is what I seek. Not size, not fame, not numbers, but broken hearts, contrite spirits.
I felt my spirit ignite. Even in the middle of the collapse, this small flame remained.
Even now, a remnant remains, but they are few.
He turned to me.
Tell them true revival does not begin with power. It begins with brokenness. It is not found on stages, but in bedrooms, not in crowds, but in closets. If my people will humble themselves and pray, I will still hear.
At that moment, I knew why he brought me here. It wasn't just a vision of judgment, it was a calling, a fire, a plea. Jesus placed his hand on my chest.
You will carry this flame back. But first, you must see what false religion has become.
The sky began to tremble, and another realm opened before us. The light around us dimmed, as though we stepped behind a curtain, and suddenly we were standing inside a magnificent cathedral. Tall stained glass windows shimmered with heavenly scenes, and the ceiling soared above like the sky itself. Choirs sang with perfect harmony. Incense floated gently in the air, but I felt no peace, no presence, just coldness. I looked at Jesus. His expression was filled with sorrow, yet firm, unwavering.
They worship with their lips, but their hearts are far from me.
As we walked slowly through the aisle, the golden beauty began to fade. The paint peeled, the gold tarnished into rust, and black mist seeped from the cracks in the marble. The atmosphere grew heavier with each step. The sound of worship remained, but it was empty mechanical routine. We entered a pastor's office next. He was sitting at his desk surrounded by shelves of theology books, but they were untouched. Instead, he was scrolling through social media, laughing at memes, and clicking through top 5 easy sermons for church growth. His Bible lay close on the table, covered in dust. Jesus watched silently.
He feeds the crowd, but never eats from my table.
The room melted into another vision, a massive megachurch stage filled with dazzling lights and booming music. Thousands clapped and cheered as a preacher in a flashy suit declared, "Your breakthrough is coming. Your destiny is now." Yet he never spoke of sin, never mentioned repentance. The cross was missing. Jesus looked at me.
They build empires in my name, but I am not in them. They preach prosperity, not purity. They speak of my blessings, but ignore my commands.
Then I saw what was behind the preacher. Demonic spirits whispering into his ears, twisting scriptures, molding his words into what the people wanted to hear. They weren't just allowed, they were welcome there.
Even demons sit comfortably in churches that do not preach truth.
The scene changed again. A cozy, inclusive gathering. A young woman stood before a rainbow flag smiling. "There is no hell," she said. "Love wins. God accepts all just as they are." The crowd applauded, but Jesus remained still, his eyes heavy with pain.
Love without truth is deception. Mercy without holiness is mockery. They offer comfort, but lead people into chains.
He walked me into a dark chamber next. It was hidden behind stained glass walls, a secret room where religious leaders toasted wine, counted offerings, and mocked the weak. They bragged about influence, dismissed prayer, and feared exposure more than they feared God.
They wear righteousness like a robe, but their hearts are filthy. They have traded the fear of the Lord for applause. My house has become a business.
Suddenly, the foundations of these churches cracked. A monstrous beast rose covered in mirrors, reflecting pride, self-worship, and empty rituals. It hissed and grew, fed by performance and ego.
This is the idol of the last days religion without me. They sing my name, but do not carry my cross.
Then Jesus raised his hand and a sword of pure light appeared. With one mighty strike, he drove it into the heart of the beast. It shattered into dust. Silence followed. The ruins cleared, and I saw something beautiful hidden underneath small groups of people kneeling in living rooms, praying by candlelight, reading old Bibles with trembling hands. No cameras, no lights, just hunger for God.
A remnant remains. They have not bowed to the system. They have not traded truth for comfort. Through them, I will rebuild my church.
I fell to my knees, tears streaming down my face. I had thought religion was about beauty, tradition, grand structures, but now I understood it was never about the building. It was about the heart.
Tell them, I am not in buildings of pride. I am with the humble, the broken, the desperate. Where 2 or 3 gather in my name, I am there, even in secret, even.
The air shifted. A warmth returned. Light shone from above, and I heard the sound of singing not from a stage, but from heaven itself.
Now, but come, you must see what awaits the faithful. Fishy.
Suddenly, all the heaviness disappeared. We were no longer in the darkness of broken churches or prideful temples. We had stepped into something that defied human language. My feet touched nothing, and yet I felt grounded. My lungs took in no air, and yet I breathed peace. I stood in the threshold of heaven. The sky shimmered like living crystal. Every color I had ever known was there, but brighter, deeper, alive. The air carried a melody, not sung with voices but with spirit. It vibrated with joy, with unity. There were no buildings, no cathedrals, no religious monuments, only people. Faces shining, eyes full of light. Not one person looked proud. No one boasted. No one demanded to be seen. They were all overwhelmed with one thing: gratitude. I turned to Jesus. His face was radiant, filled with love. His presence filled every corner of this realm. He didn't need to speak for me to understand, but he spoke anyway.
This is the reward of those who humble themselves, not the mighty, not the known, but the faithful.
He pointed to a young woman who was embracing a little boy with tears in her eyes. She gave everything to raise her orphaned nephew, he said. No stage, no recognition, just love. That was her altar. I saw a janitor, worn hands, tattered clothes. Yet in heaven he was crowned in light. He had served quietly, prayed constantly, and never turned bitter. No one on earth had honored him, but here he was honored by angels.
In my kingdom the last shall be first.
We passed through golden fields, where children danced and laughed. A boy ran to Jesus with arms wide open, shouting, "You're real! You're really real!" Jesus caught him, spinning him in the air, laughing with pure delight.
This is the joy prepared for those who believe like children.
Then I saw something that shattered me: an elderly woman, kneeling, still praying, even in heaven. I asked, why is she still praying here? Jesus smiled gently.
She intercedes for those still on earth. Her love is not bound by death.
That woman glowed. Her heart was a lighthouse across time and space. I wept. There was no pride in heaven, only deep overflowing love. Love that worshipped God without fear. Love that healed without words. Love that burned brighter than the sun. We walked beside a river made of light. It flowed not with water, but with something eternal. People drank from it and glowed with wisdom. Some danced on the banks. Others just sat overwhelmed in worship.
This river flows from my Father's heart, and those who thirst for righteousness shall be filled.
There were no politics in heaven, no denominations, no celebrity pastors, just unity, pure and unbreakable. Everyone's eyes were fixed on one person, Jesus. And yet he gave his attention to every single soul. I watched him kneel before a man who had been paralyzed all his life. The man's spirit now danced, his hands lifted. I used to be forgotten, he said, but here I am known.
Every tear they cried I kept, every pain they now wear as glory.
I felt the overwhelming holiness of this place, not a holiness of rules but of presence. Every breath in heaven was worship. Every heartbeat was a song.
This is the place I prepared, but few set their hearts here. They chase earth's crowns, while ignoring eternity.
He showed me a garden lush beyond imagination. This, he said, is grown from every act of secret kindness, every cup of water given in my name, every act of mercy when no one was watching. Then he turned to me.
You must tell them, this is real, this is waiting, but it is not for the proud, not for the famous, only for those who follow me in humility.
Tears flooded my face. Heaven was more than a destination. It was the manifestation of hearts that truly knew him.
I long for my children to desire this, not just escape from hell, but union with me, forever.
And then he said one last thing before the vision changed.
You've seen the churches built in pride. Now you've seen my kingdom built in love. Choose which one you will carry back to them.
I stood there completely still on what seemed like the edge of eternity. Behind me, visions of despair still echoed, cities collapsing under spiritual darkness, souls drifting into silence. But before me, there was now a wide open space, glowing with an unfamiliar softness. The chaos faded, the screaming quieted. I heard only the wind and the beat of a divine heart calling me forward. And then Jesus appeared again, not in the brilliant white light this time, but in a gentle glow like the last warm rays of the sun just before dusk. He walked toward me slowly. His robe brushed against the golden grass. His eyes still burned with passion, but now they were filled with something even deeper longing.
Child, you have seen the weight of silence, the pain of spiritual apathy. But now I want you to see what happens when hearts return to me.
He lifted his hand, and instantly the skies opened to a new vision. This time I saw the Philippines. Manila's skyline stood tall, but there was a soft light resting above its rooftops. Not from street lamps, not from the sun, but from heaven. In the slums, I saw small groups of children praying together. In Quezon City, students gathered in schoolyards, not to gossip or scroll, but to worship. Elderly men knelt alone in the stillness of dawn. A father stood in his living room weeping, holding a Bible to his chest, whispering a prayer he hadn't spoken in years. Churches were no longer empty halls. I saw them filled with fire. Literal columns of light rose from them into the sky. In some places, revival looked like tears. In others, it looked like singing. In some, it was quiet obedience. In others, it was loud declaration.
This is what happens when my people choose me over comfort. This is what happens when they return to first love. There is power in repentance. There is power in surrender.
And then I saw something I can never forget. A massive red line stretched across the globe, just like before, but this time, it began to tremble. I saw it crack, not from chaos, but from prayer. From Luzon to Mindanao, people were rising. The line split, and through it came a flood of light.
This is the breach I was waiting for. The enemy draws lines to divide, but my people tear them down with unity in the Spirit.
I saw politicians dropping to their knees behind closed doors. I saw influencers throwing their fame away to preach the gospel. I saw teenagers baptizing each other in rivers. I saw a generation who once mocked faith, now declaring it boldly on every street corner. Jesus turned to me.
Go back, Levi. Tell them I am not far. I am closer than breath, waiting for one more prayer, one more return, one more heart to say yes. The choice has always been theirs, but my arms have always been open.
The golden field around us began to dissolve, and I felt my spirit start to fall backward, like being pulled through time itself. But before everything vanished, he whispered once more,
Revival or ruin. Let them choose revival.
I came back changed, not just in mind, not just in body, but in spirit. Every breath I take now feels borrowed, every second a responsibility, every sunrise a countdown. Since returning from the other side, I have one message I cannot keep inside me. We must awaken. We must return. We must choose revival. Jesus showed me what happens when we don't pray. He showed me the darkness that spreads, not from war, not from storms, but from spiritual sleep. And he showed me the miracle that follows, when even one heart dares to believe again. This is not a fantasy, it's not a dream. It's not a story to forget after the video ends. It's a warning, it's a call, it's an invitation.
Tell them, Levi, I still speak, I still save, and I still wait.
That's why I'm here now. That's why I'm speaking to you. Yes, you, watching from your phone, listening alone at night. Maybe no one sees your tears. Maybe no one knows your struggle. But he sees. He knows, and he's calling you now. Don't delay. Bend your knees in prayer. Open your Bible again. Light the fire in your family. Share this message with everyone who will listen. This isn't about religion. It's about eternity. And now I need your help. If this story touched your heart, don't scroll away. Leave a comment below. Tell us your city. your prayer request, your name. Subscribe to this channel, Pinoy Faith Stories, and help us awaken a nation one heart at a time. We post these faith stories not to entertain but to warn and to prepare. Every comment, every like, every share pushes this message in further. To someone who might be on the edge of giving up, someone who needs to hear that Jesus is still reaching for them. This is not the end. It's the beginning of something bigger, a movement, a revival, a generation rising to answer heaven's cry.
I have marked the day, now I am marking the hearts.
If you feel stirred, if your spirit is burning, don't wait. Share this video, subscribe to Pinoy Faith Stories, comment I choose revival, because the date has been shown, the line has been drawn, and the choice is now in our hands. Let the world know. Bimbo, June 20, 21-25 will not be a day of fear, but a day of faith. If we rise together, if we pray, if we believe. Until next time, stay awake, stay ready, and stay in the presence of the one who still calls you by name. God bless you. Subscribe now. Pinoy Faith Stories, where truth meets eternity.